All right, we're all set.
Okay, hi. I'm Commission Chair Barb Ackenbaum. Welcome everyone to our meeting. I'm very sorry that I missed the last one because it was just incredible, like this very robust discussion, and it seemed like everybody.
Is there a message there?
Is there a message? No, I knew that you could do it without me for sure. And no, Peter led a great discussion. It's exciting to see all the ideas. And then we were just saying, Jen and I, that everybody participated, which is great. And then also there was a lot of consistency, even though different ideas, but a lot of consistency across all the responses. So that's always heartening to see. So there's just agenda. I'm just going to provide an update on activity with the foundation and the survey. And then we're going to pivot to the wonderful research proposal that Jim has prepared for us and spend some time talking about that because I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And then I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to your liaisons, but if you want to make a report on that, you're absolutely welcome to. But first, let's get our reports from, do you want to do it first, Jen? And you can be excused after that.
Thank you. Jen Eielson, Director of Health. So activity is picking up. It is our busy season. The farmers market opens on April 26th, so those permits are coming in fast and furious. Picks are also beginning to come back again because they didn't really die off despite the cold winter. And then just an update on yesterday's event went really well from what Shannon said. We had over 40 people, which is good. The caregivers for Alzheimer's, we had several agencies, Waveney's Navigator Program, Wheel It Forward, Elder House, and Lifted Brain Wellness Center, and Oasis Senior Living. And it went really well. There was a lot of questions, and Marcy was also able to join us. She was able to change her schedule, which thank you for doing that.
Co-sponsored by Staying Put.
Yep. Staying Put provided the lunch, as they always do with the Lunch and Learns. So that's fantastic. The walking club also just resumed too on Tuesday, so that's good. And it was mostly new faces, which we were shocked, and even some younger, like in their 30s. So that was good. And then you have all the numbers, and as you see with the suicidal ideation, the 10 to 17 group is pretty growing. So
Is that a specific area of the state or generally everybody?
that's our number. That's New Canaan.
Those are our numbers.
That's New Canaan
State numbers
only.
are down a bit.
Yeah,
Those
that's
trending
New
down.
Canaan only. So,
Rephrase my question, is that Grand Rapids state of ideation among teens going up?
no, not from the numbers that I've seen. I mean, and who knows, maybe they don't go see care. Maybe our kids are more prone to go get care because their parents are more, in tune. So you don't really know the why of everything, unfortunately. And then just an announcement for May, we are partnering with dermatologist Elle DeMol again, who has a practice here in New Canaan. Ellen and Shannon are going to work with her on Saturday, May 17th. And it's going to be a first responders free skin cancer screening for all EMS, police, and fire. So we'll be getting that out to our captains and our chiefs to see if their staff can join. So thank you to Elle DeMol again for working with us and providing that service.
John, you better stand up.
So that's it.
Great. Oh, I just want to.
Oh, and budget. Budget was Tuesday night. It was short and sweet. Went before the Board of Ed, the crowd of people. I joked that they were there to see me. Clearly they weren't, but
A lot of discussion about issues with not taking down the school budget, right? So people probably expressing concern about that.
yeah. And then tonight is the actual vote for town council, and then the budget's done. And then they set the mill rate in like June.
Oh, joy. Marcy presented the last week's meeting, right? And
I
that-
did.
And that went really well also.
Yeah. Same with Jen. I was not smart enough to ask to go before the public comments. So-
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I know. I heard all the public
oh
comments
my gosh.
and then I went, but it was great. No one even asked a question. So
That's great.
yeah.
That's great. All right.
mean,
Well, I just
finally
want
it
to,
went
oh,
well.
sorry. I just want to say that I got an opportunity to attend the QPR training at the library with Shannon, and it was really excellent. And I recommend that everybody do it. It's like an hour and a half, and you just get a much better sense of, what the issues are with suicide ideation, how to talk about it, how to, you give some tools that, you're not going to try and solve any problems or anything like that, but just, it's really helpful, I think. So, and I also went to the talk on, what did you guys call it? Agricultural impact on health, which is
Yeah,
basically
organic.
like, should you buy organic or not? So that's very good too, because you get some really good guidance. And the answer is, you should, yeah, you can, because it really does make
Why
a
does it have
difference.
to cost so much more?
Well, I'm happy. We'll get Shannon into it. It's a good,
Well,
a good
we know it
discussion.
costs
It's all
money.
about the farms and chemicals, right? But anyway, so you're doing some great programming, and it sounds like
Thank you for attending, Barb.
yeah, it was good. It was really good.
All right.
Marcy?
My turn?
Yeah.
So you guys all have all of my numbers and stuff, so I'm not going to bore you with all that. I'm going to give you a couple updates that I may not have included in my email to everyone. Our donation button is now up and active. I think I told you guys all that. We are now up to $1,500 in the
Wow.
last 2 weeks, so
Great.
that is
Oh.
exciting.
Yeah.
We're thrilled with that. We've also started collecting for our home goods and personal care closet that will be at our, yes.
Remind me the specific use of funds that you want people to know.
There's a pull down menu. So anyone who goes to our website can donate through like a pull down menu, and that will be like domestic violence, most needed, food pantry, heat, and there's one more, and I'm sorry that I can't even, it's been a crazy week.
Energy?
That was our utilities, heat and utilities. Might just be those 4, but I feel like there are 5.
School?
School supplies, thank you.
Mm.
Back to school. And so they can choose which category they would like us to spend that money on. So,
That's really powerful. Like if you want to donate to anything, the major issues you care about, and
Right.
here's the place to go.
exactly.
Because I didn't even know that, because that is super inviting.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's super user friendly, and you get an automatic, like, thank you, email note from the company, like, we've received your donation. So that can be used as a
Food
tax
pantry,
write-off.
domestic violence services, holiday program, warm up, most needed, back to school, home goods, personal care.
Thank
So
you. There you
pretty
go.
Look at time, digital.
All good on his phone.
So,
But most needed is also important, right? So you don't have to be.
right,
looking
that
for
can be
something
up to
really
us, like
specific,
what else
right?
is most needed. So
Yeah.
we are super excited about that. As Jen said, I attended the program yesterday at Lapham, and that went really well. Our program with Catholic Charities, we have Catholic Charities coming in once a month to use an office and to meet with residents and help with like finances and they do offer personal loans if employed, but they will also help with budgeting.
Yeah.
That is packed. So April's and May's are full already. She may have to add a couple extra hours. So we are thrilled with that.
Great.
The resume and job hunting people that we were thinking of working with Laurel House. I'm not sure that's going to work as well as Deanna gave me the name of a place called Workplace that's
Mhm.
Yeah.
in Bridgeport. I think that may be a better fit for us just because they will help everyone. It doesn't have to be like someone who is
You'll
in
end up
mental
with
health
career
services.
Right, just Laurel House is more, yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
That's good.
yeah. So we are hoping that they will also provide once a month office hours, just for people who have a hard time getting out of New Canaan due to transportation or anything like that. So that is still in the works. And then I think I mentioned last month, but we have our last and final meeting actually, I think on Friday, tomorrow, with Clara Drexler from Zoombox. And she has started a foundation for auto repair. Like, you know how they love their carburetors and caffeine and stuff. So we as human services are not able to help with that. That is not something that we are able to like help with, but we can refer people who aren't able to get to work because, you know,
Right,
they
sure.
need like a new tire or they've been in an accident that, you know, the car needs to be repaired or something like that. They will be the go-to. And
That's great.
I think that Lauren Patterson will be the one to hold the money
Mhm.
and we will go through our financial assessment and then we will refer them. And I think right now the number is they are willing to cover up to $1,000 or $1,500.
Wow. Oh,
So
that's
that is,
great.
that's a lot of
That's
money,
impact,
you know,
yeah.
so that will really help.
She just works there, Claire, or she's,
She is related to.
oh, she is in Buck maybe?
To the Zumba.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I
Maybe
think
she's
she's
their daughter.
actually Doug's
Yeah,
daughter.
daughter maybe,
I'll have to
yeah.
ask her exactly, but yes.
Good for her. Wow, that's a.
And
a great
so those
little
are all the,
correlative.
those are all
I have
the
a question.
news. Yes.
Commissioner Lisher, I forgot to identify myself. I noticed that the client base is going up, both seniors and youth and family.
Yeah.
Is that indicative of the confusion in the society? The fact that you guys are out selling your services or what?
I just think it's indicative of like,
Oh my God.
we're trying to get out a lot more.
Okay. I thought
Yeah.
that-
And just, you know, pounding the pavement and word of mouth. And I don't see it going down. I think in the next like 2 years, Riverwood will become 30% of it or something will become affordable.
Got it.
So
That's right on Burtis. That's the one going up.
Avalon.
as Avalon.
The old Avalon.
Oh,
they
the old
renamed
Avalon,
it
okay.
Riverwood.
Because there's something going up on Burtis too.
Oh,
Oh,
That's not,
I
That's
don't
not,
know
that's
about
not
that,
getting low
please.
income. Okay, I didn't know. I just saw that.
that's market rate.
I saw the hole and I thought, oh, maybe something.
yeah, no.
But
So
yes.
we anticipate numbers going up. And then who knows with this economy? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I-
Marcy, what share of your clients are in affordable housing in the town? One sort or another?
I don't know that number, but I'm going to guess it's probably about 80 to 85%
Wow.
are in
Okay.
Millport or Canaan Parish.
Do you do schoolhouse also? Do you have
And
people?
we do schoolhouses.
That's
yeah.
really high. That's fun.
Oh,
Hey, Marcy, Commissioner McKenzie, I was wondering, just as I read about different, offices that are getting shut down and different programs that are getting shut down, I know that the low-income home energy assistance program is getting shut down. Do you anticipate that it's going to be more difficult to help clients in town?
You know what? This year we haven't had that problem. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
And nobody has said anything to us yet. You know what I mean? We haven't gotten any official notice. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that though, if that were to happen with this donation button, that will be okay. Historically, we have been available to give like an emergency drop. I don't think that we are equipped to sustain
Right.
people where like energy assistance sort of really did help sustain people during the heating months. Because they approved like 3 or 4 fills. So I don't know, but we have not been told that has been shut down for us yet.
Okay.
So,
Just watch.
as far as the state, I don't
Right,
think it
it's
has,
not-
like it,
Right.
yeah, it's not federal.
Marcy, it may not impact us, Russ Barksdale, Commissioner. The Department of Homeland Security, as everyone knows, the temporary protective status on Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelan, individuals like that has been accelerated. So that termination date is April 24th. And I didn't know if that had an impact on any of our residents, New Canaan and affordable housing or anything of that nature, because they will be without jobs come that date.
Right. We, again, have not been contacted by anyone for help with that. Although I know that Catholic Charities, like we do have referral organizations that we can refer to. Catholic Charities helps with that. They have all different departments. So I think that if we do get panicked phone calls, we do know where to send them. But we have not yet.
Well, that's going to have an impact on your business, isn't it, Russ?
Well, every healthcare organization, it's going to impact, from and every business. If you HR is in touch with immigration status, I mean, think about all the support staff and things of that nature. I mean, A lot of businesses are going to be impacted, but healthcare certainly will be.
Yeah.
I've just read that, I think it's the Federal Department of Human Service, Health and Human Service, is shutting down the fuel support operation as of last week.
Yeah, that's what
gonna trickle
Alyssa was
down
asking.
into the states, I suspect, correct?
But we don't know. We really
that's-
truly
I
don't
don't
know
know
if it's state by state.
Flag that's happening on anything with human services at this
Yeah.
stage of the game, health or mental. I mean, it's
Yeah.
insane. So-
I feel like we shouldn't panic or worry about what we don't know. And so that may be on a federal level,
Don't be
but like,
surprised. when it
right,
arrives.
right. But we have
Got it.
not been told anything officially. So
You know, I'm wondering maybe for next meeting, try to have a little discussion on all of that, because I
Good
think
idea.
Marcy's right, who knows?
Right.
But every day that goes by and we know more, maybe just as a slightly organized discussion with, like Russ, you're gonna have some expertise in this area, just at least try to firm
Unfortunately.
up the possible
Yeah.
issues as you guys perceive from everything you're reading.
right.
Here are the 3 or
Right.
4 things that I read that bother me the most, like, you know, Jen, around the whole, what's going on with the vaccine land.
There's nothing
But
going
see,
on
that's-
vaccine land yet, so.
It's all
Again, a
federal.
lot of it, like, that you're reading in the media is not really happening yet, like the grants. Those ELC grants were long expired. Those dates were, and if you kept pushing off and getting extensions, that's on you. You didn't spend the money. It doesn't affect us. The only grant that I got a stop work order on was the immunization grant, and there's only $600 left on it. So
Yeah.
I think this getting worried about things that aren't really happening is, I can't waste my energy on stuff like that. I mean, we're not funded that way. I'm not the city of Bridgeport. They rely heavily on state and federal funding. We don't. Even Governor Lamont is cutting public health by 10% per capita funding. We don't get per capita funding because we don't have 50,000 residents. So it's something that, you're only usually reading one side of it and you're not seeing it's actually both sides are doing it. But it doesn't affect a town like us that is not funded that way.
And I think
You
that like
know?
a lot of this is federal and the federal may be closing down, but it's really that they're just passing it on to the states and the states are to take care of their residents kind of. So, Connecticut will have to figure out.
Right. Well,
how
maybe
to
we'll
do
see
this.
where we are. in a
We'll
few
see
weeks.
where we
Yeah,
are,
maybe
you
just
know.
a little
see where
more
we are.
organized, because this is really important. Let's
Yeah.
not do it on the fly. Let's
Right.
pick it up next meeting where we know more and
Yeah,
we'll,
if there's,
if there's anything.
If we know anything, but
Okay, cool.
no, it's a good idea. Okay, anything else?
that is it.
So we're going to turn to a discussion of what the foundation is doing with the research and then a project that Jim's proposing. And you're welcome to stay. But if you have, and I know Jen's not feeling great. So go. So, no, I think, yeah, it's a good, I'll fill you in. I'll call you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you,
All right.
guys.
Great work.
Welcome back.
That was pretty efficient. Took you 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Jim's going to need some time.
efficient when we're small but mighty.
And look at you, you found a half hour. You got a new half hour for yourself. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I think I said up front, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the foundation. Peter and I have had a couple conversations with Lauren about the research and just kind of quickly review. They did all their community presentations in January and February to the different constituencies and got a lot of input from the community. And they got input from us when we had a conversation with them. But then also they started their annual grant cycle. So anybody who's ever done that cycle knows it's like, and John Knight ran it for years, but it's a 2-month sort of endeavor where you have to get requests for funding and then you go out and do the due diligence and vet the different organizations. And it's a very all-consuming and it's great. I think 120 grants came in this year. So I don't think they're going to do them all, but it's really a wonderful thing that community service for Fairfield County, obviously not just New Canaan, but they've been deep in that and their awards will come out in June. So they sort of are going to get back and look at the survey at that time. And, just from talking to to Lauren, they've got some internal things they're going to do. Again, like a lot of the feedback they got from the research, presenting the research and to these different groups was that New Canaan is in pretty good shape. 86% of respondents are either satisfied or very satisfied with their life, and more than 2/3 do not have barriers to accessing physical health care and mental health services. So that's overall very positive. Of course, we all know, and we saw that very clearly in the conversation that you all had last month, that there are subgroups whose needs and concerns and challenges are very great and need to be addressed. So what they've done is they've reached out to Nina Chinana, who did the research project, and it's going to help you to do a deeper dive into those groups, basically those with financial insecurity, multiple caregivers, people with, a parent and a child in the home, and then residents 30 to 59, which we've spent a lot of time talking about them and what the needs are. And so their goal is to get some research, dig deeper into the data, and then based on the findings, look into developing some programs, which is going to be a challenge that we'll hopefully address, and working with other nonprofit partners, develop some programs that they can put in place to try and directly support those different cohorts. So that's their plan sort of through the fall. And so at the same time, they're going to start again on research, doing additional surveys. So one is the youth survey, which you've heard about if you went to any of the presentations. It's something that's the challenge was very important. Got to go back and talk to the kids about what you learned from their parents and try and understand better the issues that they're facing. So they've got funding for that, and that's going ahead. And they're working with the schools to try and implement it there. You may know more about that than I do. No, okay, or maybe.
Do we have any details on that?
No.
How it's gonna be structured or?
No, I think,
Where they're gonna do it? In the
yeah.
home or school or,
Well, the last time, I think she just said that, ideally it will be in the school, because I think, and maybe you said this, it'll be easier to implement.
Yeah.
Because then the teachers say,
Home.
you have to do this, right? And
Right.
whereas at your home, and then your mother's over the shoulder, maybe, I don't know, maybe you have a feeling about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
It should be in the
would
school.
It would be great to
Okay.
do it through school. And also I think that's a little more of a controlled environment
Mhm.
where you have everyone there.
Well,
You're
they're
not
used to doing
relying on
tests,
families
so
to
it's
say,
like
we're gonna
another
sit
test,
down and
yeah.
do this.
It's like the SAT, right?
Yeah.
I think the
yeah.
only trick on that is the structuring of the questions, right? Which they're obviously going to be extremely thoughtful about, but like, how do you present it in a way that
Right.
everyone's going to be comfortable with?
Right. And I
What's
don't know, the parents will be, and probably won't have a lot of people involved in that. Maybe some, to just make sure.
Right.
And I guess you're also saying, well, what did we really learn from the parents that concerns us about their kids? And really try and answer
Yeah.
those questions, specifically.
Yeah, one of the things I talked to Lauren about actually was just how do you orient it towards more of that positive piece, which we've talked about.
Right,
That's
the-
just like,
yeah.
yeah, more about like, how do you feel like you're flourishing rather than
Right, yeah.
where do you feel like you're failing?
Right, no, that came through in your comments from the meeting. Yeah, I think that's.
I presume this is complementary to what the schools already do each year.
Yeah, they do
They do
climate
something different,
survey.
yeah.
School survey is, and it keeps coming up in this conversation, and I think it's because the terms are the same, but they're not the same thing.
Right.
The school survey is taking a snapshot of how students are feeling about their school environment.
Yeah.
It's more almost like morale and making sure there aren't pockets of kids feeling unsafe or
Yep.
really unhappy with school things. It does not talk about as much or focus on how are you doing behavioral health wise. It's more like what's our climate like when you show up at our doors.
Mhm.
But that
So it
thing
just
is
addresses
complementary to whatever you come up with out of this youth study.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're going to want to make sure
absolutely.
there's not a disconnect between
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
And
Right,
both are
and
really
there's-
important, but I
Correct,
think
yeah.
pretty different in terms of kind of getting at the heart of what they're trying to get at.
And if
You
you
know?
hold it all up against the window of
Yeah.
this, you'll see the universe that they live in.
The fuller picture,
Mhm.
exactly.
Well, yeah, the school doesn't ask about how they get along with the other kids or their family, and that's the anxiety, depression has to do with all those relationships or lack thereof. The school doesn't probe that, I don't think.
No, because they're just trying to make it a better environment for the kids. That's
Right.
really their focus,
Okay.
And
right?
it's within their scope, because
Yeah.
I don't know that they necessarily, unless we really do
They're not
sort
all-
of a specific initiative, their scope isn't really to say, so what's going on in your head and what's going on in your family in that environment? It's more like,
Has-
how are things when you get here?
Right, they're trying to understand their sphere of influence, right?
Right.
Well, just another way to,
What can they impact, right?
well, yeah, another way to say it.
Yeah,
Is the school administration on board with this, supportive,
I don't,
you know?
To me, I don't know, I mean, I'm not speaking with any special
But you're-
knowledge, but I think this is just really early days and
Okay.
that they'll start to,
Great.
you
survey
know,
awareness.
discuss that and figure that out. I even had a parent in the community tell me she thought it would be really hard to get a survey of kids through, that parents would be against it, which is strange to me, but interesting that that was a concern for her. So it's early days and we'll just have to sort of figure out,
Okay.
you know, where
Do you
people.
want to add something?
I was just gonna say, I think that's where the piece of like, how are you gonna ask these questions
Mhm.
comes in,
And how do you present, what are we doing and why? Or
Correct.
what is, you know, the community foundation?
especially like down to what age, right? Because
Yeah.
questions in and of themselves are therapy, or, you know, just the way you ask a question.
No,
Triggers, yeah.
Can trigger certain
Mhm.
things, or at least that's the concern, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so whether or not it actually does. And so how young do you go? Where's the maturity level sit to be able to answer
Right,
some of
no.
those questions?
the other
Real.
question, probably. beat this
We
to
don't know any
death,
answers to your question.
Is who's gonna be in front of the kids saying, we're doing the study?
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah.
the we? I
Yeah.
don't think it's the school administration. That's just, so
I-
then I'm confused.
It's a
who
good
would-
question.
'cause-
Well, and then there's also obviously the kids in private schools, you're not getting a full range of things. So
That's
there'll
true.
a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
thought will need to
Or
go
work
into
with
that.
them
Yeah.
too, if they're willing to be a part of it, because those are important.
Oh,
to
yeah.
me.
So are you involved in that? Are you on the?
No, but
you're just
I
saying in
would
general.
be
Yeah.
happy
It
to,
might be,
but,
yeah, that might be really a good idea.
or
Good.
even just be there to sort of communicate back to everybody.
that would be
'Cause I don't
great.
know if I have any expertise anymore, but
No.
I feel like everything is out of date for me. Happy
Wow.
to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. So yeah, so it sounds like they got their hands full with it. So what do you guys say, Alyssa?
Sorry, yeah, Commissioner Wilson McKenzie. I was wondering, do we know if they're gonna break out and survey the, specifically the parents of adult disabled children? Like you'll capture some with the sandwich generation. But I was just wondering if we were gonna carve out more space to see the needs of folks who have adult disabled children that they care for.
That's a
I mean,
good
I know, yeah, I like just off the top of my head, when I saw the event that Jen had done with older adults, I thought that is something, and I've spoken with other parents, or I've spoken with parents who have adult disabled children, and they would love to have a panel discussion, especially because right now with Social Security and other offices
Right.
in a lot of turmoil, they don't know what's going to happen for their children. And these are, if you're living like on a fixed income and you're trying to estate plan for your child who's going to need support for the rest of their life, you're not just thinking of your end of life planning, you're thinking about what happens for the decades after you die. Like those are really big concerns and that's another layer that really isolates this demographic from other residents. So I was just wondering if there was going to be a carve out for that.
That sounds like a really excellent idea.
That's a good.
Maybe before the next meeting, we can circle back to Lauren and you know,
Yeah.
see what their plans are.
Alyssa,
job,
any
Lauren.
idea
So
how many people in a town of 20,000 would have an adult disabled child? Is that 5 people, 100 people? 500?
definitely more than 5. I mean, I really only know my sister's friends and their parents, and her age, I would say she's close with about a dozen other families. So it's a considerable amount of.
Yeah, and I could think of 4 or 5
Mhm.
people that I know of in that situation. So
You
it's
know,
it's not 1 or 2, it's a.
No, it's not 1 or 2, and there's a lot of opportunity for New Canaan to be more inclusive and have more programming, and I think you would see the number is a lot higher than we realize, because there really is not a lot of accessibility in New Canaan for we do a great job with pre-K, birth through 3 to aging out around 22, but parents describe it as a cliff. They just fall off a cliff when they turn 22. The wait lists to get into any kind of day programming, should they need residential like care, whether they're living independently in an apartment or a group home, you have to be, basically both parents have to be incapacitated for them to get off the wait list. It's really dire, and the funding only gets cut more and more every year. And I think there's this belief that parents in New Canaan can afford to care for their children for the rest of their lives, and that's just an astronomical financial burden that it's just, and with Social Security, it's
Commissioner
Right.
Barksdale, Alyssa, it's an excellent point. I think, where's our closest ARC do we know in Connecticut? Do we have an art program in Fairfield County? We may want to reach out to them and get their data and stats on this, because it is becoming, as Alyssa said, an issue for the seniors that are, over 75, 80 years old that still have an adult child that they're caring for. And you can walk down, Elm and see where people have caregivers with children that have developmentally disabled issues and support and things of that nature. So maybe ARC has more data. I mean, I that's the only association that I would be aware of that would track that.
ARC
We-
Star,
Yeah, Star right here in town.
Okay.
No, okay, Alyssa, yeah, I mean,
Star would have some data.
Star, and
Yeah.
they've got an office right here, right behind where we park, yeah, so, and they've got
They
kids.
getting whacked, their funding?
I don't know, I know somebody on the board, I'll call, because I think that's a really good question, and, I think that's something to consider.
Yeah, their funding gets slashed every year, to answer your question.
Yeah.
All of the nonprofit sort of organizations that support adults who are disabled, especially developmentally disabled, they get less and less money every year.
You're vulnerable, yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, well, good, those are good thoughts. So the other thing that the foundation's gonna start gearing up for again is a second survey to follow up to the one we just did in the fall, so 2 years after. And that would be an opportunity to assess whether any programs they've developed are working against the target audience, and sort of take a temperature of the town and see how it has changed from 2 years earlier. So it seems does that seem like good timing to you, or? I don't know, seems like, hopefully there'll be some impact, you want to make sure you can see.
Would
whether-
it be the same scope and cost as the first?
I don't know.
I would,
Again, another question for Lauren. I
Well,
don't
it
know.
also depends on what comes out for actions.
Yeah,
I mean, they had made a strong statement for need for education and communication.
well, they do have the fund at the foundation called the Behavioral Health Fund,
Yes.
which can be used to fund projects like that. I know there's funds there, you maybe,
I know
you know
they're
better.
busy scurrying around looking for what that outreach is. gonna
Right, well,
look like.
that's why they're doing the deeper dive, right? Hopefully some progress will come out of that. Do you want to add something?
I was just gonna say, in terms of like assessing programming, seems like it might be a little short.
Right.
I'm like, if
Right.
it's, in a year and a half from now.
Right. Well, and again, if they need to
And
get the
it's like-
funding, yeah, I think that's the ideal, but yeah, it's very possible that they'll say we haven't had enough
it's a
time.
little short.
You want to make sure you can really measure results, right? If you've
Right.
tried to do some programs, so.
Are they, besides more studies, is it gonna be an action they're gonna take based on what they learned already? For example, more information on where to find help, which we
Right.
identified in our conversation.
Right,
Is
well,
there something coming out on that front?
I mean, part of it is the idea of it. I know,
I'm
Jim.
not asking you, Barb.
No, I know that, well, we talked to her, maybe, one thing is the communications plan, like an overall,
Right.
like, hey, I think in Richfield, they've got a nice thing going and, where you say, hey, this is a great town, these are all the things we have going on, sort of roll that out and then try and make resources available.
Good.
So yes, I think that's another thing
Great.
that they're talking about, but I think it'd be good to talk to Lauren again. I'll be happy to talk to her again before the next meeting, because these are all really good questions.
John?
Barb, I think a lot of it's also up to the Behavioral Health Alliance. Because
Right.
the Community Foundation was sort of providing the support and convening, but it's really up to all of the organizations that are part of the Behavioral Health Alliance to sort of look at it and sort of come up with I think, some collective ideas on things that they want to prioritize and move forward.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And you had some thoughts on resources too, right? Trying to synthesize the resources that are available.
The Alliance has a committee, in fact, John, looking at that very subject as to what's the action program.
Oh,
I wonder,
Recommend
Do you
to the
wanna-
whole Alliance.
Okay, good.
I wonder if it's worth touching on like our follow-ups to build on kind of Tom's question. And what we talked about was one, looking at our priorities again.
right.
And we'll probably have a little subgroup who will do that and present something to the group. Secondly, after that, maybe possibly to Russ's thought, is put our own recommendations or suggestions to the first selectwoman along those lines. And then finally, look at the budget through this sort of lens. I think those are the three things that, from our side, that I think we can do based on the survey work, and you can see it kind of that happening from here through the summer, those three pieces, and obviously support all the other, work that's going elsewhere.
So you're saying, look at the funding that Human Services does, that, and sort
We'll
of,
just.
yeah, just to
in
kind
our-
of
In our
reinforce,
discussions with
right,
these
no,
guys,
yeah, that
we'll-
makes.
We'll just take that into account. I think that's a pretty good way of ring fencing
Great, yeah.
specifically what we'll do, and the impact of the survey on our work. And
That's great. Yeah.
so just stay tuned on all of that.
Yeah, and then speaking of that, speaking of trying to synthesize, so that great conversation that you had last month, the minutes were wonderful, and then Jen said, I'm gonna synthesize it down to maybe 1 or 2 pages. Of course, it was 5. But it did show, and there's a lot of consistency in thoughts, but there's just still a lot to talk about. So to your point, it might be nice if a smaller group would be willing to kind of look into trying to tackle that and really synthesize it down to something that's meaningful for us and actionable for us. So you don't have to volunteer now, but if there's anybody who would be interested in taking that on, let me know.
And readable.
And it was very readable, the good use of bullet points, you did a really good job. It's just, it's just so much information and so many ideas. But so please let me know. It would be great if a group would get together, a smaller group, and look into that. So I think that's it. Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say again about the foundation is they don't really, they're saying, hey, we're good right now. We're pretty busy. When we need you, we'll let you know. And, to your point, John, it's really the Behavioral Alliance. If they need our help, we're here, but maybe this is an opportunity for us to focus more on, again, like identifying our priorities and then doing a new project. And so I think that would be great. Jim, if you would talk about your project, which is really great because it targets people who are people like me, 60 and over, and some of us, and also, is a group that maybe seems to have been underrepresented in the survey. So a good opportunity to learn more about them.
Start?
You can start.
Okay, basically, as an officer of the Senior Men's Club, I helped solicit participation in the survey. So I felt that it was incumbent that I report out to the men's club and what exactly I found. And I was looking at the data, forgetting the fact that I think seniors were represented, but I'm not sure it was the right kind of senior. That the fundamental finding that I could report to the group was that if you have money, you're happy. New Canaan, 3/4 of the respondents that were 60 and up reported that. Well, that's not news. So I want to dig down into a deeper dive of what exactly we have in that study and what else we need for programs and policy down the road for seniors. It just so happens we had $4,700 left from the telehealth program for seniors. That was a Jenian Foundation grant that we can use very
Yeah, it was
expeditiously.
it was earmarked for a senior health technology communication initiative.
Right.
So that gives you some flexibility in terms of, and it just
Yeah,
seems to be
and-
really consistent with that. Do you want to write that down? I think that's great. I mean, it is. It's very,
So it is there.
it's there, and
There.
it's, yeah, and Marcy confirmed it's in her budget, but she does not have access to it. And Deanna said it's
Yeah.
money that that's allocated to us for something, just a project that will,
So the funds are
Fit there.
available and $4,700 is not a huge amount of money. It's enough to get us started. We can rehire Nina, the person who led the foundation study, or it's actually, I keep calling it foundation, it's the
yeah, we gotta
Alliance.
say Behavioral Alliance,
The Alliance study.
right?
Funded by, anyway, that's two simple things, steps. One is to go back and do a deep dive into the data that exists, see what else we can glean from that. And then add to that, there's a lot of secondary research kicking around on seniors and mental health in general, and we want to take a look at that. Nina, the research supplier, has done other work in senior mental health around the state, so that's going to be helpful.
Mhm.
She also had 5 different studies that I had never heard of. And I could bring to that the AARP studies that I have and some other. So that we want to take a look at the deep dive into the data as it exists from the study, and then add to that context from the outside world in these secondary studies. Out of that, decide what else is needed, if anything. I know something else will be needed, and so we have a choice of focus groups or doing more interviews to add to the basic study that's already been done that would fatten up the seniors aspect. So that's basically it. I want to set up a group to sort of oversee and participate with Nina, and basically I've recruited one person so far. I think 3 or 4 people is all we need.
Mhm.
So we'll take, as you're looking for volunteers, I'd be delighted to have you join this. Anyway, I'm gonna make a motion unless, well, first of all, you have any questions?
I had one question.
Yeah.
Is having Nina do this gonna pull her away from other stuff that we may want her to focus
Oh,
on
that's a good
first?
question. Yeah, that's. very-
No, not of the moment. Now, we will not, she's already booked through the early part of May, so we won't start actually getting her going on this, although
Yeah.
getting her going is relative because she already has a lot of this information. It's just a question of
Well, it sounds like you're asking her to do what she's already doing for these other 3 populations. It's a similar-
Well, she already did that for the other 3. Oh, for
The
the other
deeper
3
dive, yeah, those
populations.
3 subgroups,
came-
yeah,
gotcha.
right, yeah.
And I don't know whether she's gonna be retained as the youth. the
Oh, I don't know
person who
about
does
that
the youth
survey, no,
study
I
or
don't know
not.
that either, but,
Yeah,
Her expertise is clearly in the senior and the adult
Yeah.
side of the world.
oh, okay. Well, then maybe that would be done by somebody
by
else.
different, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of questions about this
Yeah.
needs survey, so.
Jim, one question Commissioner Barksdale I had is, I guess on the first tab is the cross tab by age groups. I mean, yeah, as everyone knows, and I think can appreciate in this commission, you know, over the age of 60, you're going to have a lot of different, you're going to have people that are very active in that group. You're going to have people that have chronic illnesses in that group that are not mobile. You're going to have, you know, the over 85, over 90 who feel maybe more isolated and are getting support services. So I'm just interested as we talk about children, I think it's a great analogy. How would you recommend that the seniors 60 and older get broken up in terms of cohorts and analysis?
I'll tell you that in 3, 4, 5 months. Basically, I understand exactly what you're saying. One of the reasons I want to do the crosstab is begin to dig as deeply as it can with the data as it exists. One of the problems of doing quantitative research is that you can make the results, having been a marketing consultant for years, you can make those results sing any song you want. And I know for a fact that a lot of the 80 and up cohort comes from the men's club, from my recruiting
Sure,
people that I've talked to.
right,
That's not an average. Now, you can make a case for the fact that that represents probably 60, 70% of the population, but they have all these subgroups that you're talking about that we need to address. So that's why we want to see milk, maybe that's the wrong subject, glean from the data and the study that's been done, everything that we can, put it in the context of some of these other secondary studies and also Nina's work with other towns, and try to raise the question of then what else do we need? Focus groups are the easy way to answer that question, but maybe the answer is in other, you know, doing a substrate, if you will, of adding additional people that were pre-selected for these groups that you're talking about. Because we know there are a lot of seniors in town that are not wealthy and are not,
right.
that are under stress, so to say. So I understand everything you're saying, and that's why we want to do this. Milk as much as we can out of it.
Yeah, because I think it is important to note that the representation of the seniors in the survey was not consistent with the number of seniors in town. And as anybody knows who's worked with, you know, with those populations, some of them don't want to talk about what's going on and or maybe they're isolated, but they're really important part of what Marcy does and who she works with. So, I mean, I think there's a real need to try and reach out to that broader group as well. I'm not sure how, I'm not sure if a focus group or, you know, some other kind. It's hard sometimes to get
Yeah,
people
well,
to
that's
do the
what we'll
research.
figure out is what we need.
Right. you gonna say something, Tom?
Well, there's a huge difference between people and people in their low sixties.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Right.
That's the other thing we need to
it's a
drill
chip,
down
you're
on.
right. And,
Yeah.
you know, we're staying put. We see a lot of people 80 and over. That's our main. And there's a gigantic range of situations that people in that age bracket are in. A lot of it is just driven by the effects of age
Health,
and
yeah.
health,
Right.
which are
Inevitable.
Inevitable.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but so, yeah, within that 60 plus, there's a delineation. So I think it'll be
Yeah.
important to have people on the commission. I hope some people will help you ask the questions, formulate the questions.
Absolutely.
Jim,
And again, just the idea, Russ, that we're gonna be plowing around through seniors' focus, or at least a small group of the group of the commission will be looking at those kinds of questions. That alone will make us smarter.
Yeah.
So I would like to propose or move that the Health and Human Service Commission accept the proposal of Charana Consulting LLC to provide additional analysis on town senior citizens 60 and older, studying the New Canaan Health and Wellness Survey being supplemented by available secondary research.
second.
The cost, well, let me.
Oh, okay. You have to read the whole thing?
It's recommending also that the senior, that we put together a small committee of senior health people of the commission to oversee the consultant project and make recommendations on any further research and
Okay.
or programs. And this would all be paid for with $4,700 that sits in the budget focused on senior healthcare.
So,
That's my motion,
That's-
long and arduous.
very, very specific.
second.
Any more discussion of it or all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay, so it looks like we still have some time to go around, and if anybody, did you want to start, Peter, report on your liaison and what's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
going on?
So the Silver Hill program continues anew. The last month, 13 cases. The referral sources and the demographics are pretty much
Does that now include Weston?
It does.
Any other towns? I know we talked
Well,
about
Westport,
Newtown or Westport.
Westport has begun, and 3 cases were seen in March. And
Wow, right away.
that's good. And the program has been formally renamed the assessment program at Silver Hill. So I think we had a little.
Are they looking for any more business? Because I could bring Newtown into this conversation.
Yeah, I think always, just. They've always been trying to get more towns involved, so
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they hadn't had some interaction already, but I just.
I brought a group from Newtown down 6 months ago or so. And that was the focus, there were 14 people came down, including the selectmen. And the focus was on the urgent assessment program. So I know there's interest.
Okay.
But capacity is a big deal and it's a growing program and I don't want to overwhelm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they'd be open to that. So again, good to see cases, 3 cases there. There've been 4 cases to date in New Canaan and for April. So that's off to,
3 days, wow.
4? In
yeah,
April?
so,
No.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So.
we fill capacity on the last one?
No, we have 16 slots per month and we had 13 in March. And then I think Newtown's got 2 and Westport's got 1. So it's definitely some good progress. They're also doing a lot of work in assessing this program in the light of the survey results. Silver Hill is one of the, they've been right in the middle of it with Lauren,
Right.
so it'll be really interesting to see what their conclusions and perspectives are from the survey. So, but again, good solid progress and really good news that we've got a second significant town, and Westport's obviously a really significant town.
Great.
That's it.
Okay. Jim?
Nothing more.
Okay. Tom?
I'm on Get About, but I don't have any updates. I think they're cruising along. They are having a fundraiser soon, so.
Oh, that's right. That'd be fun. Okay, great. And how about you?
Yeah, for New Canaan Cares, they just had a townwide conversation with Chris Heron,
Oh,
working
right.
through substance abuse stuff. I unfortunately had too many conflicts and couldn't be there, but I can follow up and see how it went, but those talks
I
always,
heard it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Harrison, and told me it was really, really impactful. And I guess they met with the kids at the high school
they,
first
exactly.
and then did the adult parent one.
And I heard the one at the
Thank you.
high school had gotten really well, so,
Yeah, I had coffee with the New Canaan Cares people Tuesday, so, and they are delighted.
yes.
To say.
Yeah, no, they do some incredible work of education in the community, so. And then they have their big kind of fundraiser coming up in May as well, so.
Okay.
Trying to get word out for them on that, be good.
Good. All right. And how about you, Jen?
Nope.
No report. Okay. I did talk to Meals on Wheels just quickly and their numbers remain the same. They're at 18,000 meals a year and, but the 400 clients. But I just, I asked about what the percentage that is benevolent. So they're, pay for your meal and are funded. And it's 79, I guess 8,000 are donated, using donated funds are paying for the meals. And then there's another 3,300 who are self-pay. And he said their fundraising seems to very substantially help support that benevolent population. So they have enough funding to do that. He also mentioned that Waveney is just an incredible resource and that they haven't taken the price up in several years.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Don't give anybody any ideas.
I don't know.
Don't, come on. Come on, we like to do things behind the screen too, help people out.
Thank you,
Just-
Russ.
Just amazed that, that it's just been such a great partnership and they're just, very grateful for that. And their volunteers pool is good. They're able to do what they need to do with the volunteers. So that's it for Meals on Wheels. Is there anybody have any new business to talk about?
I can give.
Well, I'm sorry, Alyssa, you go ahead. No, I just want to reiterate, I think
forgot you
what
guys.
Marcella
Sorry, wait.
said. And the question Tom asked is, I think it would behoove us as commission just keep track of their caseload based upon affordable housing. And as that expands, it would be nice just to, have that quarterly number to see the impact it's having on our staff members.
I have to say, I did not know that statistic.
Yeah,
I knew that
it was,
the people that we serve are generally on the lower half and lower end of the income spectrum in town, but that puts it in perspective.
right. And then a lot of the people that do are paying themselves are short-term, they've had surgery and they need food and it's for a month or, and then they get back to their normal routine. But if anybody's ever delivered the food, it smells delicious anyway in the car. I mean, it's really a substantial, portion. I think you gotta get lunch and dinner pretty much. And so it's really a wonderful resource and it probably makes a big difference in some people's health.
I know a couple, they're staying put members, they're in their 90s, they can't really prepare meals. And they could do a TV ad about
Yeah.
Meals on Wheels, they just love it. They
Yeah.
load up on as many meals as they can get. And,
Wow.
Pretty cool.
And they're probably
They're
paying.
very
us.
grateful too.
Oh, that's great. All right, Alyssa, did you have any? I forgot, I should have.
Yeah.
there.
Commissioner Alyssa McKenzie. So the DVCC continues to be busy. They feel like the survey was great, but it's definitely an underrepresentation of abuse taking place in New Canaan, which is to be expected and just shows where the work needs to be done in communicating what abuse really looks like, starting with coercive control and financial abuse. They are preparing for the ways that their clients are going to be impacted from grants, as all nonprofits are sort of bolstering themselves to prepare for, even just down to the language that's on their website, what's acceptable and what's not under the current administration. And they're already seeing abusers emboldened by certain leadership and the abusive behaviors that they're seeing come down from the federal government. So they're watching that. Legislatively, they continue to push Hartford to enact meaningful laws to protect victims of abuse. And so many orgs, including DVCC, are in support of Bill SB 1502. It's the Domestic Violence Survivors Justice Act. It's already law in New York, and it seeks to recognize that domestic violence is a major risk factor in incarceration or for incarceration. And so how do you actually look at people who are accused of a crime in terms of that background? What interventions, and also like was the crime a result of the abuse that they're enduring? And it increases justice while also saving the state money. So it's kind of a no-brainer. You can reach out to your legislators if this is something that you'd like them to support. It's still in committee, last I checked. And their annual spring luncheon, the Voices of Courage luncheon, is on the 15th of May, and it's with survivor and expert Ashley Bendixson.
Well, great. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And John doesn't have a liaison right now, and I just want to just suggest, and Harrison has been talking to Kids in Crisis, but, you know, ready to, he just said, checked with Martha, hadn't talked to her in a while, but said that things are going well there. They're pretty active. And I just want to think for a second, if anybody is interested in maybe changing their liaison group, or if they have any thoughts about, you know, who else they might want to be, let me know. I mean, it's been a couple of years now, and sometimes it's good to get a different perspective, although obviously everyone's very committed to the groups they're talking to. Okay, so then I guess I would just say, just reach out again if you're interested in helping out with Jim's project, or with kind of looking at the priorities of the commission. You know, please let me know. You've given us a lot of good ideas for next month, what to come back with, and certainly understanding that the youth survey is a really important thing. But is there anything else that anybody has?
I just had a
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Barb, I just, I don't know, and maybe I missed it, if we approved the minutes or not.
Jen and I just said that to each other.
We
The
realized that.
board meeting,
So we're gonna do it at
then-
the end.
and then I'm happy to be the closer, so just
Okay.
whenever you're ready.
Thank you. No, we saw that. We saw that a couple
I
minutes
do
ago.
have one question, and excuse my lack of knowledge, but we continue to bring up affordable housing in town and how that's going to affect numbers that we see in our different
Mhm.
health and human services programs. And I'm wondering if anyone has any clarity on, you know, if the new housing is, what % of it is affordable versus subsidized?
There's
I mean,
workforce housing too. Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we sort of lump it all into this one thing, but a lot of my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, is a lot of affordable housing is helping someone who makes, you know, $100,000 a year, but can't afford to live in the town that they're a part of the community of. They're not going to increase our numbers at the food pantry, right? And then there is housing and a need for housing also for people who may be, you know, needing more services from the town. But I'd be interested to kind of parse out these different things, because to just continue to say that all affordable housing efforts are going to somehow put a huge burden on our human services programs, I think is sort of a skewed way to look at it. And I know it gets into the weeds of housing, which is not really under our purview,
but I
but I
think-
think it's important
Yeah.
to really talk, are we talking about, you know, is 5% of the new
Tom-
housing subsidized versus just a little bit of help for people who otherwise could not afford to live in what's a very expensive
Yeah.
community, you know?
I think, you know what, I think that's a really good question for Marcy.
Yeah.
Because she has a
those
very
kinds of
strong
numbers.
understanding of it and the
To
different,
have a further discussion.
so maybe we'll ask her if she could just give us a little overview. It's a really good question. I get confused too, so. I think that would be great. Okay.
Okay.
My
Wait,
last
Jim's got
thought
something.
was that as we're talking about the confusion and the funding streams that come for human services, particularly from the feds to the states and down here, that it would be helpful to get somebody like Tom O'Day
Mm.
to come in and chat with, but I don't think he's gonna come for only the human service
Yeah.
group to try to get a working meeting, as it were, to see what is actually going on in Hartford
Yeah.
to address this confusion. From my work in Hartford on the workforce, I can tell you that things are in total disarray up
Yeah.
there. I'd like to hear it from somebody.
Yeah, I
who's got
mean, of course you could say that, and then on the other
More
hand, you
than
could say,
usual?
Yes, oh
Okay,
God,
okay.
yes.
We
Yeah,
could also
because
wait a couple months
okay.
and see kind of
Medicaid
what
is
happens,
where things
right? I
fall.
think right now it's pretty crazy,
I
but
agree.
maybe, I
Well,
mean, there
that
may
would
be
be-
things that the federal
yeah.
government is suggesting that won't happen after all. And, you know, we've seen that.
Well, if
sometimes, so-
Medicaid is reduced, as they're talking about doing, that is
Yeah.
going to create all hell.
Yeah,
breaking
I think
loose
that's
Big
gonna,
nut. That's a big,
that's a ways, I think,
Right.
big,
And it's gonna impact a lot more people than
Yeah.
poor people, I tell you.
right, well, sure, yeah. So I think, but I think everybody seems to feel very strongly it'd be good to understand more about the impact. But as Jen said, right now, you
We
look
might
at,
explore how to maybe put 2 or 3 commissions together to have a working
all,
session.
all of these changes are for a good cause, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
okay, I think we should end there. Russ,
I make a motion to approve the minutes,
all in favor?
Oh,
Here, here,
Yes,
second.
thank you.
and then following that, a motion to adjourn.
Hey,
All in
Russ.
favor. Thank
good
you,
for
Russ.
Good work,
Thank you
Russ.
very
Thank you.
much.
Well done, Russ.
Thanks for finding that little glitch there. And they were such good minutes, you know, you should have approved them right away.
1 hour.
It's even more powerful when Russ closes down from the speakers and the
yeah, I was gonna say from everywhere.
Well, when he walked in, he was all over it. you
Yeah,
know.
brother.
He was the first one on.
Yeah.
There are
That's what I want, my mug and a big screen. Thank you.
4 TVs.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, thanks.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. That was
Thank
great.
you.
This is what we hit your end of this.